Hello and welcome to lesson 37, pages 256 and 257. This is the song titled Yankee Doodle in our level 1 book. And we have a brand new note in Yankee Doodle, or rhythm rather, called a dotted quarter note. And in our book, it looks like they call it a quarter dot. But really, the most common terminology you're going to hear for this note is a dotted quarter note. And a dotted quarter note is actually worth 1.5 beats. So this is the first time we've been dealing with beats like this, 1.5. But let's back up really quickly and talk about another type of dotted note we know. I'm going to draw it right here on the left side of my screen. And I'm going to draw this rhythm that you should know. This is a dotted half note. And dotted half notes are actually worth 3 beats. And sometimes we don't talk about why that is. Well, a half note by itself is worth 2 beats. And when we add the dot, it becomes 3 beats. That's because the dot is worth half of whatever's behind it. So again, I'll say the dot is worth half of whatever's behind it. So behind the dot in a dotted half note is a half note. So when we add 2 beats of the half note plus the 1 beat of the dot, that's how we get 3 beats for our total. Okay? So for a dotted quarter note, the same thing applies. We have a walk note, or a quarter note, worth 1 beat, and the dot is worth half of 1. So that dot is actually worth half a beat. So when we add that together, I'll have to write it up here, we get 1.5 beats. So how do we count half of a beat? Well, we have a measure in our example down here. I'll actually scroll down just a little bit. And it has beats laid out for us. 1, 2. Then do you see this 3 plus 4 plus? Those pluses we count by saying and. So really, if a measure is in 4/4 time, that means we have 4 beats in every measure. I usually count it 1, 2, 3, 4. But now we can also think about it like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. And the ands of the beats we like to call the up beats. And the 1, 2, 3 of the beats we like to call the down beats. Okay? So I'm going to put my hand on screen right now. And to think of our 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, we're going to pretend that my hand is a foot. And it's tapping to the beat. 1, 2, 3, 4. And every time my foot goes up in the air, that's the and. So let's count it. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So in 4/4 we have a downbeat and an upbeat. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Our dotted quarter note, I'll draw it up here. Here's my dotted quarter note. It takes up 1 and, because it gets a full beat, but then it also gets half a beat, so it gets beat 2. So it takes up a downbeat, an upbeat, and another downbeat. That's how much a dotted quarter note gets. And they actually tell us that at the top of our page. Let me scroll back up. It tells us right here, 1 and 2. And the and of 2, they put just a single 8th note next to it. That's the note with the little flag coming off the top. It's just a regular 8th note. And well, I guess this is a new rhythm for us too. This is like if one running note is by itself. So we have just an 8th note by itself. When we put 2 8th notes next to each other, we don't put the flags anymore. We actually then just draw that bar on top to put them together. And that's how we get our running note. Okay? So a dotted quarter note gets 1 and 2, and then an 8th note plays on the and of the beat. Let me show you on middle C. We have 1 and 2. 1 and 2. And if I played 1 and 2 and, it would sound like this. 1 and 2 and. Okay? Let's try and use an example of these Now You Try It sections here. We have 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, then a dotted half note for 3, and a running note or paired eighth note. Okay, here's how that sounds. You can try to play along with me. 1, 2, here I go. Walk, walk. 3 and 4 and hold. 2, 3, 4 and. All right. And you're welcome to rewind and try again with that. And for this one, we start with a dotted quarter note to an eighth note. So it's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and then we just hold for 4. Let's try the second now we try it section. Here we go. I'm just going to use middle C. 1, 2, here I go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Now, this concept can take a little while to master. So it's really important that we understand how it works so we can use it in songs we read later. But I'll tell you some good news about Yankee Doodle. You've probably heard this wonderful nursery rhyme before. And when you've heard something before, you kind of already know how it goes. And you're going to hear our first dotted quarter note happen in measure 9. And guess what? You'll probably know exactly how it's supposed to sound. And you may not be thinking in your head 1 and 2 and 3, 4 when we get to measure 9. But it's important to understand how to count it because eventually you will play a song that you haven't heard before and it'll be harder to know how it's supposed to sound if you don't know how to count it. All right? Let's get our hands set up for Yankee Doodle. And we're going to try to play the first 8 measures together and then start to talk about these dotted quarter notes that pop up in measures 9, 11, and 13. But the first 8 measures are actually pretty straightforward. All right, let's start with our notes. We're going to start with the bass clef, our left hand, because it plays first. And we're going to put our left hand, finger 1, on C. So I'll get my left hand, finger 1, put it on middle C. There we go. And the next note, it looks like I have a D here, and finger 2 goes on D. So I'm going to do the same thing. Take finger 1, 2, place it on D. There we go. All right. And our first line, we are really just playing C, D, and E a lot. And the only changes we have are in measure 4, we play here, B, G. Go ahead and play a B with finger 2 in the left hand with me. 1, 2, 3. Playing a B and then a G. Okay, other than that, we're just playing lots of C and Ds. And in measure 6, you actually play an F. So let's try and just read together right now the first 6 measures. So the first page. Then we'll talk about the second page. Okay, here we go. Nice and slow. 1, 2. First page, try. C, C. D, E, C, E, D for 2. C, C, D, E, C for 2. Here's that B, G. B, G, C, C, D, E, F is coming. F, E, D, C. I bet you've heard that melody that we're practicing now. Okay, the first page is down, nothing really new here, but the second page is where we have lots of new. So let's practice it together. We have a B, G again, just like we played in measure 4, and then we have top of the staff, top of the class. Can you name this note? It's an A, and then a B again, and 2 C's. So measure 7 and 8, B, G, A, B, C with the left hand, C with the left hand. So that's all left hand in 7 and 8. Let's try it at a steady beat. 7 and 8. Here we go. B, G, A, B, C for 2. C for 2. Okay, in measure 9, we are now seeing our first dotted rhythm. It's an A, and we hold A and then play a B, A, G. So first we want to get really comfortable with those notes because the rhythm's tricky. We want to know what we're playing. It's all left hand. So we play A, then go up to a B, back to an A, and then a G. So this dotted rhythm, remember, gets 1 and 2, and then that 8th note B is on the and. So I'll draw on here for us. 1 and 2 and. 1 and 2 and happens on that B, and this is 3, 4. Okay? 1 and 2 and 3, 4. If I speed it up here, I go and. Right? That's it a little faster. Slower though, it's 1 and 2 and 3, 4. Great. So let's try it together at a steady beat. We're going to do 1 and 2 and 3, 4. I'll clap it. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. Let's try measure 9 together. Here we go. And 1 and 2 and 3, 4. Do it again. Here we go. And 1 and 2 and 3, 4. Great work. Okay? In measure 10, we play A, B, and look out, they want the right hand to play C in measure 10. Okay? But now we have another dotted rhythm happening in measure 11, and they want us to do a finger change. So they've written, hey, finger 3 is going to now be playing G, whereas before your finger 3 was on A. You have to move it over and play G, and then we play A, G, F. So same kind of pattern that we played in measure 9. Now you're doing the same pattern with these 3 notes. And in measure 12, you have to play E with the left hand, and I'm using my pinky, finger 5. Now, the reason why he's changed fingers is because of this, because they want your finger to be ready to play an E and then up to a G. So let's see if we can play 11 and 12. It's going to sound like this. G, A, G, F, E for 2, G for 2. 1 and 2 and 11 and 12. Go and G and A. I'm sorry, I got off on my count. It's tough doing these dotted quarter notes slowly. Let's try one more time. Here we go. And 1 and 2 and 3, 4. E for 2 and G for 2. Wonderful. Now in measure 13, it is actually the same exact rhythm as measure 9. A, B, A, G. And in measure 14, we play A, B, C, A, G, C, B, C, B, D, sorry, C for 2, C for 2. So let's go over 14 and 15 together slowly. Here we go, and A, B, C, A, G, C, B, B, C. Oh my goodness, even I am making mistakes here on this measure, and you know why, students? It's because of this finger change. I'm all confused. So this is a good learning moment. Because I changed fingers, I'm not sure which note is where, and I made a mistake in measure 14. So let's slow it down for me too. And what we can do is play A with finger 2, and then I go up to a B, then up to a C in my right hand, and then back to an A with finger 2. That's nice and slow. Now finger 3 is G. Finger 1 is C. B with my thumb. This is where I got tripped up. And now a D with finger 2. C with our thumb to end in measure 16. C for 2. C for 2. All right, now let's try that at a steady beat. 14, 15, and 16. 1, 2, here I go, and B, C, A, G, C, B, D, C for 2, C for 2. Okay, Now I just want to give you an example of what 9, 10, 11, and 12, or I guess I will say 9 to the end, sound like, just because we played it slowly and we got to hear the other measures before. So here is 9 through 16. Okay, here I go, 9 through 16. 1 and 2, and here I go, and change finger for 2. Excuse me. Okay, that is a tricky set of measures between 9 and 16. Really take it one at a time and get used to that hand position. Now we're going to go back to the beginning of our song and try and play it at a slow, steady tempo from beginning to end. Okay, right hand finger 2 on D, and we're starting with our thumb on C in the left hand. Here we go. 1, 2, here we go. C, C, E, D for 2. C for 2, measure 4, measure 5. For 2, here's our dotted quarter note, 1 and 2 and 3, 4, A, B, C for 2, change finger, G and 2 and 3, 4, E for 2, G for 2, 1 and 2 and 3, 4, A, B, C, A, G, C, B, D, for 2, and off. Great work on getting through Yankee Doodle. Remember, 9 through 16, some really tricky measures, especially when we change our hand position. So take your time with this one and good luck.